The majority of British industrial companies are complaining about the continuing burdens from Brexit. That comes from a survey of 228 companies by the association Make UK and the management consultancy PwC, about which The Guardian recently reported. Accordingly, 2 out of 3 companies stated that the UK's exit from the EU had a moderate or significant burden on their business. More than half expect that Brexit will still damage business this year, for example, through new import checks and new labelling requirements. Formally, the United Kingdom already left the European Union on January 31st in 2020, but until the turn of the year 2020-2021, there was still a transition phase with largely the same rules as before. The island's final break with the rest of the continent took place just over a year ago. At the beginning of the current year, new imports checks for products from the EU came into force. According to the survey, obstacles caused by Brexit are still among the main concerns in British industry. But there's also optimism. 3/4 of companies assume that conditions will improve. Many also believed in opportunities, for example, for more domestic production. Well, manufacturing companies in Great Britain also expect a number of negative effects of Brexit on their business activities in the coming year. In 2021, the first year after the country left the European Union completely, 2/3 had to do with significant or moderate problems as a result of the changed trade relationship, according to the recent survey by the industry association Make UK and the management consultancy PwC. Over half of those surveyed, 56%, expect further difficulties in 2022. They name delivery difficulties due to delays at customs and the checks of import documents, as well as new requirements for labeling as imminent problems, among other things. These figures make it clear that Brexit and the COVID-19 pandemic have left wounds in the thinking of many companies, the analysis said. Since the beginning of the year, there have been stricter rules for imports from the EU to Great Britain. The customs documents must be present in full upon entry. In 2021, companies had up to 6 months to submit their papers during a transition period. In addition, the import of food and plants must be announced in advance, and the rules of origin are applied comprehensively. Truck drivers from the EU now have to prove that all documents are complete before they go on the ferry or train. In the course of the year, further tightening of the rules will be introduced. They mainly affect the handling and documentation requirements for plant and animal products. And with so much food coming from the EU to the UK, that will make a difference. At the turn of the year, the tax authorities introduced the new Goods Vehicle Movement Service, the GVMS IT system for processing documents directly upon import. A number of companies have complained of difficulties with it over the past week. Among other things, deliveries for the car manufacturer Honda, which were stuck at the border, were affected. The company spoke of the teething troubles to be expected of a new system. Well, once more, teething troubles. Hope they don't end like the other teething troubles. Observers are convinced that it is still too early to assess the consequences of the new stricter regulations and the associated frictions. The exchange of goods is traditionally very low in the first few days of the year, so few transports cross the border. Traffic would probably not normalize until the middle of the month. Data for 2021 underscores that Brexit is having an impact on British foreign trade. The government likes to point out that interpreting the data is complex, since the past year was also characterized by COVID-19 and lockdowns, so that many effects cannot be clearly assigned. However, the trade flows of the EU states Germany, France, Italy, and Spain have practically reached the level of 2019 before the pandemic for the past year. Imports and exports combined amounted to 73.8% of the gross domestic product, 0.9 percentage points below the value in 2019. In the United Kingdom, the corresponding value was 54.8%, 2 years earlier, it was 62.9%. Germany in particular has felt the extent to which the country's foreign trade has shifted in the past few months. The country had been the main market for imports by British companies in 2019. In the first 3 quarters, they had received goods worth £50.9 billion from the Federal Republic. In the comparable period of 2021, the import volume shrank by 22%. The most important import market is now China with £45.6 billion. A survey of around 100 economists by the Financial Times comes to the conclusion that the economic recovery in Great Britain will lag behind other countries. They point to political uncertainties and Brexit. It is true that many of the problems are looming right at the moment, that they are global, but these include the rapidly rising energy prices, the return of inflation, shortage of staff and delivery problems, but they are exacerbated by Brexit. An upswing is driven by optimistic expectations for the future. Brexit will create a chronic pessimism about the future of the UK economy, said Paul de Grauwe, professor at the London School of Economics. And Jagjit Chadha, director of the National Institute of Economic and Social Research think tank, said the interplay between the Brexit consequences and political uncertainty, which is likely to curb investment, will continue to hamper the recovery in 2022. Well over half of the economists surveyed expect that the country will not be able to do better than comparable Western industrial nations in 2022. The economists at Goldman Sachs are forecasting strong growth of 4.8% for the current year. HSBC is at a similar level with 4.7%. But a previous deep fall is reflected in these numbers. In the first COVID year, Great Britain was the bottom of the G7 with the most significant economic slump. First time I don't like a bottom. The growth data in the country had recently disappointed. In October, before the Omicron COVID variant led to new restrictions, the British economy had only grown by 0.1% after the catering and entertainment in particular presented weaker data than expected. And I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.